Before I tell you how 10 years of photography taught me how to build a style and confidence, I need to tell you a bit of my story. As far as I remember, I've always admired photographers. To me, it was a job that was kind of inaccessible for some reason, and for a big part of my life, that was really something I didn't dare to dream. And actually, even as a hobby, for quite a while, I didn't take this seriously. Like, I don't know, I wasn't enough to be a photographer, a hobbyist photographer. So even though that was my thought, I had for a birthday, you know, those little cool pics camera that I used to take my first photos. But honestly, that was mostly photos of my pets, and if today I was a pet photographer, I wouldn't be surprised at all. Like, all my cats, dogs and other animals, they've always been my first photo experimentations. So even though I had this little camera, I never thought that I could eventually become a good photographer or become a professional photographer. I admired photographers like Henri Cartier-Bresson, capturing moments of life so beautifully. I had some postcards in my room since I was very young from that photographer and others that were doing documentary photography, street photographers. That was the things I really loved. And I also loved fashion photography. So, you know, those photos that you could find in magazines and that were always super nice to look at, and that quickly became my room decoration. So I had some photos of it in my room. And I also loved photos for makeup brand. Makeup advertising were always looking so beautiful, in my opinion. But again, for some reason, no chance I could ever do that. So I was just enjoying it visually, but never thought I could do it myself. Now, for context, and that's actually quite funny, is that I always lived surrounded by art and creativity. So from a very young age, I've been into music and I was a musician. And at that time, when I was very young, since maybe 7-8 years old, music is really the thing I wanted to pursue as a career. Art and creativity have been my everyday life since almost forever, which is quite funny. So that block that I had about photography was not at all coming from the idea that I'm not from a creative family, I don't know what's creativity, so I can't be a photographer, which as I was already a musician. But here is the interesting thing, is that even though I was a musician, I never, and for a long, very long time, you'll see, I never really felt like an artist. And the more I grew up, the more I felt like I was more of a good technician than a good artist. I don't know if that makes sense. But when it was time to choose a career, I've decided, probably with a bit of the help of my parents, that pursuing music was probably not for me, and that I should choose a real job. And so I've decided to become an audio technician. So I stayed in the creative field, but doing technical stuff, and it felt more safe for me, and it made more sense because I really didn't think I was a good artist, good at creation. For me, I was better at doing technical and logical stuff. So like following technical sheet and just really hiding in the back so no one could see me, but I was still in this creative field. At some point, like many people, everything fell apart in my professional and personal life, and I decided to stop this job that didn't make me happy and to leave the country and go to my dream country, which is Australia. So me moving to Australia, it moved me even further from any creativity, because for reference, I am from France, and even though I don't love this country for a lot of reasons about culture, it's very easy to have access to it. There are shows, theaters, music everywhere. It's really cheap and sometimes free to participate or just to attend some of those events, which really didn't feel that way in Australia, at least in Western Australia, where I didn't really have this feeling that culture was all around. So I was moving once again even further away from any art creation, at least. And from there, so from when I moved to Australia, long story short, but I worked in restaurants, in hotels, factories, and farms, so nothing related to art or to creativity. But this is the moment where I reconnected with photography. Just before leaving to Australia, I bought myself my first real camera, which was a Sony a6000. And I thought, oh, okay, maybe I'll make some photos there to show my family what I see there. So yeah, because beauty is all around you in Australia, beautiful landscape especially, it was a good excuse to reconnect with photography. But once again, I didn't have in mind at all to turn pro. Even though the more I was taking photos, the more I was kind of thinking in the back of my mind about it. But like it was not something doable for me. Also at that stage, it's very important to say that photo editing was not a thing for me. For some reason around me, I've always heard that photo editing is cheating. So I was maybe moving some sliders around on Lightroom, but nothing too crazy. Yeah, just like I said, a big part of my life I've heard that photo editing is cheating, so it was a bad thing to do. So yeah, Australia was also for me the beginning of Instagram. Before that, I was not on Instagram. I've created my Instagram account to document my travel in Australia for my friends, for my family, and for anyone who wanted to join, but the goal was really to document my life. And I think that was the point of Instagram back in the days. I don't know if it's just me who was dumb at that time, but I think I didn't even know, or we couldn't, I'm not sure, share photos from a laptop, so it was only photos from my phone. So the goal was really not to take the most beautiful photos, it was to document my life and show people what I see and how I see it. And quickly I discovered a whole new thing is the world of travel photographers and travel influencers. That's something I didn't even know it was a thing, and by discovering Instagram, I've discovered this world, and I saw a lot of photos from people who had beautiful photos, and you could recognize the style just by scrolling Instagram. You could tell, oh, this is this guy, or this is that girl, just with the style of the photo. But it was also the beginning of my frustration, because I tried to get a little better at photography by watching YouTube tutorials, experimenting a bit, but my photos were always super boring compared to all of these people, even when I was trying to get better. And that's where my thought about not being an artist came back, because once again I thought, well, all of those people, they are amazing artists, photographers, and I'm just a technician who likes art, but I'm not good at creating art. So yeah, I'm just not talented enough, and that was my thought. I did keep trying to learn photo editing and photography on YouTube, because I'm the kind of girl who keep trying anyways, even today. When something doesn't work, keep trying, just in case at some point it's going to work, you know, which turns out to be a good thing, you'll see by the end of the video. So eventually I started to understand that photo editing was an important thing to learn, so I've started to use Photoshop, which was only overwhelming. I just couldn't understand anything in this software, so I think I kind of start editing in Photoshop and gave up like 5 times. So yeah, anyway, I stayed in my photography frustration for quite a while. In the meantime, something happened that is probably, I would say today, the turning point in my photography story. I discovered, also thanks to Instagram, digital art and compositing. And I discovered that I could tell a whole story with just one image by combining different images and creating a story by manipulating image all together. And quickly I loved the concept and I became super obsessed with it. I took online courses, experimented, created my first compositions, and for me it really became a way to express myself while I was so far away from music and not really good at photography. So yeah, at the time I was still in Australia, and every weeks I was creating different compositions and digital art to express myself and tell dreamy stories. So naturally, practicing compositing made me a very good Photoshop technician. I became quite good at it and I finally understood how everything worked, mostly thanks to online courses and practicing for my digital art. But when I came back to editing my photos, I was still lost and it didn't fix my problems. Like, my photos were still not that good, still not standing out. I still didn't have a style, and yeah, it didn't fix my problem at all. So yeah, I thought I was just not good at the softwares, but in reality, that wasn't the problems. So yeah, at that point in my journey, I just wrapped up 2 years living in Australia and doing jobs, like I said before, in restaurants, hotels, stuff like this. And I started to feel a bit depressed despite being in my dream country. I felt deep inside of me that I needed to reconnect with a creative job. Like, creativity and art was not just something I could do for a hobby. I felt like I needed to have that as a job and as a purpose in my life. So I thought, what can I do? I tried digital art for a bit to be independent, to sell my prints, but it didn't work at all. So I thought, what could I do? I kind of love to spend time doing animations instead of After Effects. So I thought, let's try to be a motion designer. So I moved to Vietnam and I took online courses to learn how to be a motion designer and how to be a better one. And if you know the world of motion design and online education, you probably know School of Motion and their courses, their teachers, their way to teach. They are, for me, the best, and they really changed my life. I don't say that slightly. They are really amazing. It did not only teach motion design, but art in general. How to see, how to convey a story, an idea. And one of the class changed my life. It was a design class about color theory. At that time, color theory was something I was really struggling with because I never really understood how it worked, how to combine colors together. Once again, I remember this thought exactly. I just thought I didn't have the eyes to see colors the right way. I had no idea how people could get beautiful colors that are consistent, combine them the right way all the time. And yeah, I just couldn't understand how color theory could help me in practice anyways. So in short, color grading was driving me crazy. But back at the design class, I suddenly understood how to use colors. And I thought, hey, you know what? Let's try to apply all of that on my photo when I am color grading. And for the first time of my life, I finally had fun experimenting with colors with my photos. And slowly, which is quite funny, from something that was driving me crazy, I thought I was just so bad at it, I became super obsessed with it, and I was constantly experimenting to try to develop my color grading style. And thanks to that, I started to spend more time photo editing than learning motion design. And slowly in my mind, I thought, well, maybe motion design is not the career path I want. Maybe I want to be a photographer. So because I was spending days and nights in Photoshop editing photos, I became quite good very fast, and I managed to get my first freelance gig as a photo retoucher for an e-commerce brand. When I was working as a photo retoucher for the e-commerce brand, I had another problem, is that my photos still didn't have a style. Even though I was getting better at editing photos, I didn't have my style, the style that people would recognize my photo thanks to the style I was giving to the photos. So I'm not sure how I had this idea, but I decided to take my camera, go to a spot where one of my favorite photographers went to shoot, and go to the same spot that he shot the photo. So I captured all the photos, and when I came back home, I tried to copy his editing style and to put it in my work, in my photos. So basically I was just trying to replicate his photos, and doing that taught me so much. And that's actually one thing that I would highly suggest to anyone trying to find their own style, but also trying to learn about composition and about photo editing. Of course, here the goal is not to copy, but to learn from others. And right after this trip, I've decided to do a 30 days challenge with no one else. That was just with me, for me. Actually, now I'm looking back, I had really good ideas back in the days. I was really inspired at that time, I think. So yeah, I did that 30-day challenge, and the goal was to edit one photo per day and to post it on Instagram once a day for accountability. The reason is that at that time, I was editing one photo, and then I wanted it to be perfect. So sometimes I was editing 5 times the same photo, and instead of moving to the next photo and call it good enough, I was just spending so much time on one photo. So that 30-day challenge forced me to edit the photo, call it done, and move to the next one. With that 30 days editing challenge, 2 things happened. First one, community. I started to connect with people rooting for me on Instagram, complete strangers. They were encouraging me, admiring my work, and I didn't expect that at all. But thanks to those people, I got the motivation to keep trying, keep improving my work, and also keep sharing my work, which is something before that I wasn't really doing, because I was scared of haters, scared that I was not good enough, scared I was not a real photographer. So I'm very good at imposter syndrome. And actually, just a few months after the 30 days challenge, they were the first people asking me to teach them photo editing. And at that time, I still remember like it was yesterday that I was like, no, there is no way I would ever teach photo editing to someone. I'm new to it, I'm not good enough to teach, I've never worked as a photo editor, which was not true, by the way, because I was working for that e-commerce brand. But anyways, I thought I don't make enough money as a photographer to pretend I can teach. I haven't done photo editing for long enough to teach. And all of that was completely wrong, but people were asking me to teach them. Which, if you are in that case, please do teach people. It will teach you a lot. But I've learned that years after the first people asked me, and now I don't regret it because now I'm teaching. But if I knew back in the days, I think I would have improved even faster, because teaching others is also teaching yourself. So if someone asks you to teach them, please do it. Second thing that happened with that 30 days challenge is that at the end of the 30 days, I felt like I was finding my style. First time it happened to me. It really felt good. I think before this challenge I was wasting so much time trying to get the perfect photos that I was editing in 5 different styles, and I never knew which one was my style, which one I preferred. That at the end I was just wasting my time instead of moving forward and creating my own workflow, the same workflow for multiple photos that will then create a style. And with that challenge I could not spend days on one photo because I had to edit one photo and to post it, so I had to edit it once and call it done. So perfectionism was not an option at all for this challenge. So long story short, but this challenge really changed my life, because right after that I got the opportunity to work as a photo retoucher, and actually the first was a post-production assistant in an advertising studio. And I remember that the boss of the studio accepted me, telling me, wow, you really have beautiful travel photos. And if I didn't do this 30-day challenge where I posted all my photos, all my 30 photos, well, the boss of the studio wouldn't have seen what I'm capable of when retouching photos, even though it was not related at all. It was an advertising studio, mostly doing products, and I was just posting travel photos. So this was my first real job as a photo retoucher, and then I entered another studio that was a retouching studio. We were only doing retouching, and yeah, I worked as a photo retoucher there. Then people I was working with that became my mentors, they pushed me to start working for myself, to start freelancing for my travel photos. So I started to freelance. I also launched different photography businesses, but that's a story for another video. Let me know in the comments if you are interested about how I turned pro as a photographer. So this whole journey taught me a lot about building confidence, also building a style as a photographer. It taught me to believe in myself, and while I was learning photography and photo editing, I also learned about myself, and I think that everything together is what led me to my style. This is what led me to a style that I feel completely aligned with, that I'm really proud of. I'm also super proud to share my photos now that I feel like my style is a reflection of who I am, which I wasn't before. Like I was sharing photos and always thinking my photos sucked anyway. And I guess the reason why I make this video is that if you are in a position where you just can't find your style, instead of crazily trying to get better photos by buying better gears or becoming a Photoshop technician like I did, have you tried to learn more about yourself? To learn more about your deeper self, about what you want to share with others via your photos. And now I'm putting my teacher hat on after working with hundreds of photographers about this topic of finding your style. I've noticed that oftentimes people think that they will get up one morning, and because they've been doing photography for 20 years, they will finally have their style one morning like that because they've been practicing for long enough. But most of those people have never done this work, this inner work. They are stuck being a crazy perfectionist over their work, so they are just never moving forward. Also, if you are someone with low confidence, finding the right people that will cheer you up, encourage you, show you what you don't see about your photos can be life-changing. Just like it happened for me when I did this 30 days challenge and I started to share my photos. Truth is, I needed all those people who encouraged me because I didn't quite believe in myself. So sometimes the thing you are afraid of, showing your work, showing up, is maybe the thing that will unlock a new version of you. So if you are not yet sharing your work, I would recommend you to do it, to start doing it. And don't be afraid of people stealing your work, Don't be afraid of haters. Those are just excuses to don't share your work. Now I would like to share with you 3 books that I would highly recommend you to read. Those are books I've been reading in the past and some that I'm reading now. And I think if you are a photographer trying to build confidence and to find your style, those are 3 books I would highly recommend you to read. So the first one is called Still Like an Artist from Kleon. If you are looking for your style at the moment, just buy this book. It's super easy to read and it will, I think, really help you. Second one, if you are willing to explore your inner self, I highly recommend you to read the book The Artist Way from Julia Cameron. This is a book that is built in 12 weeks, so it's not a book that you need to read all at once. You read a few pages per week for 12 weeks. I'm currently doing it. I'm on week 8 and I find this book really amazing. And honestly, even if you are if you think you are not an artist like I thought, you should really read this book because you're gonna learn a lot about yourself and who you are deep inside. The last book I want to recommend, if you feel like you are blocked and you are very good at finding yourself excuses, this is the book called The War of Art from Stephen Pressfield. It's really interesting for the reason I just stated. And now, one last thing, I want to talk about a guide that I wrote myself a few years ago already. Like I told you, not being able to find my style was something I was really frustrated with. So I wrote a guide with advices and actions I would do if I had to find my style again today. It's a guide that is built for you to be able to find your style in 8 days. So I've combined everything I've experienced in the last 10 years and made it all as a guide. It's completely free. I will add the link in the description if you are curious about it. I hope this video inspired you to find yourself, to share your work, to be more confident about yourself. And if you liked it, if it helped you, I would love to know it, so let me know in the comments. And I see you in the next video.